Hi everyone, my name is Erica Bonsack, and this is my analysis for my invective speech. On April 18th, 2002, a man by the name of H. Sterling Burnett presented his speech to the Subcommittee on Commerce and Consumer Protection within the Committee on Energy and Commerce of the United States House of Representatives in Washington, D.C. Burnett's speech was on suing gun manufacturers and ultimately the protection of lawful commerce in arms. Burnett works for the NCPA, which is the National Center Policy of Analysis, working with firearm issues in general, as well as lawsuits that people have against firearm retailers, manufacturers, and wholesalers. The NCPA is nonprofit and a nonpartisan institute, and it promotes gun public policy problems here in the United States. One of the biggest reasons that this is a huge deal is because our Second Amendment states that we have the right to own and to bear arms, and a lot of people believe that this is not a good thing. And in reality, I believe that guns are not the problem, it's the people who own the guns in which are the problem. So there are 5 main common topics I will be discussing about this speech, which make it invective, and they include definition, comparison, relationship, circumstance, and testimony. So to begin, I'm going to talk about definition. The definition of invective speech and what makes it the definition is the topic of the definition can be used not only for clarifying the point of issue, but also for suggesting a line of argument and kind of what it means. The definitions of an argument are used to further the argument even more and to kind of move it along. The second subtopic is comparison. We kind of use comparison to see the similarities and differences in the speech, what makes it different from others, or what makes it the same as others. The next main topic is relationship. The first subtopic under relationship is cause and effect. Ultimately, when we talk about cause and effect, we begin by asking the question why. When there's a cause for something, there's always going to be an effect to follow. The next main category is circumstance, and this kind of talks about the possible and impossible. And when we're trying to persuade one in this to believe our side of the argument. The last of the 5 main common topics is testimony, and under testimony there are 6 subtopics, which include authority, testimonial, statistics, maxims, law, and precedent. These 6 are equally important as they all play an equal role in the topic. So, to begin, there are several parties that are involved with the ongoing gun issues that have been taking place. Obviously, the National Center for Policy Analysis is a huge player in the game. Gun control activists, trial lawyers, mayors, firearm manufacturers, wholesalers, retailers, kind of everyone is a part of the game here that is taking place. Some of these people are suing gun manufacturers for what guns are apparently doing to people. And then there's the opposite side of people who feel that we should be able to own guns without worrying about people taking them away from us. So it goes to show that there are quite a few people that are involved with this issue. People have had good and bad experiences with guns, and that may make them take their side, whether it be a good side or a bad side. Burnett produced his speech because he feels that there are many people out there who are suing gun companies because of the bad experience that they might have had with them. But like I said, I believe that guns are not the problem. The humans that own them are. So he gives many revisions and things that can be done to improve the bill on gun control itself. He makes his point and he makes sure that he covers everything on firearm use so it is safe for people, and to make sure that people know that there are consequences if you're going to misuse a firearm. When applying the main concepts or the 5 main common topics to the invective speech. I'm going to begin with definition. So after reading the speech, I found the definition to be very clear. The main issue here is that lawsuits are taking place against firearm manufacturers, wholesalers, and retailers for what guns are doing to harm people. Burnett states, I wish to address today why the H.R. 2037 is an appropriate response to the threat that municipal lawsuits aimed at gun makers pros, and propose a couple of revisions that I would like to argue improve a bill. He also continues by saying gun control activists, mayors, and trial lawyers complain that legislation banning gun lawsuits usurps local authority and threatens public safety. This goes to show that some of the general public see the guns as the killer and not the shooter as the killer. Personally, I feel the opposite way about it. It's hard to figure out how to keep the public safe while allowing free access to certain products. So we're going to continue on to comparison. I believe that Burnett did a nice job with this. He uses similarity in comparing guns to other items. Burnett states, moreover, what kind of message do lawsuits send? If gun makers are blamed when their products are misused, what products are safe? Knives, cars, household products, and many other things are used each year to commit crimes, and accidents, including automobiles, ladders, and swimming pools, cost the public millions of dollars annually. He continues by asking if these manufacturers should be sued if a criminal kills someone with one of them, and talking about filing lawsuits against them for accidents that may have been caused with these products. I think he makes a good point, because knives in some sense are just as dangerous if they're as a gun if they're not handled by the right person. Guns and armed responses are one of the best defenses against violence and attacks, and they are one of the most effective and safe ways to protect yourself against criminals. The next of the 5 main topics is relationship. This is where cause and effect kind of come into play. As we look at the speech, we can see that Burnett's opinion is that guns don't kill people. People with guns kill people. If they get into the wrong hands, obviously. This kind of leads to shootings that maybe shouldn't have happened. I believe that if our Second Amendment was changed or taken away, it would cause even more damage than what was already being done. Also, if this were to happen, many gun companies would go bankrupt, and this would happen very quickly. Firearms would then be what's the word for it? There wouldn't be a lot of them left, which would put them at high want, people wanting them. And Burnett states, even if some gun manufacturers remain, the prices for firearms will be so high that owning guns will be right reserved, if not in principle for only the relatively wealthy. So therefore, they would be in an extremely high demand for people. Along with this, he states that the lawsuits will not reduce crime, poverty, or homelessness. It won't improve the schools or fill potholes. Guns are not the cause of our city's ills. They are just scapegoats for the mayor's inability to check crime. In the suits results in a decline in lawful gun ownership, crime and unemployment would likely increase as citizens are left defenseless against criminal violence and industries flee to friendlier and safer business environments. So if guns are taken away from us, like I had stated before, it's just going to cause more issues. The next topic of the 5 is circumstance. It talks about the impossible and the possible, as well as the past fact and the future fact. Burnett states that if mayors were really concerned about public safety, they would be encouraging gun ownership, not taking it away. This statement was a past fact, which evidently led to our future, which will lead into our future if guns were to be taken away from us. So lastly is testimony, and along with testimony is the 6 subtopics. One of the positive things that he points out and uses is statistics. H. Sterling Burnett has authority over this subject, I feel, as well. And he has quite a good idea on what is happening in general with the suing of gun manufacturers. He shares many statistics on gun abuse, such as this one person's defending themselves with guns during an assault only 12% of the time, compared to 25% of those using other weapons and 27% of those who use no resistance at all. I also mentioned earlier about how many times annual citizens use guns as well. It's like 800,000 to 3 million times annually. Along with this is next comes law, and this again is under testimony. And part of this again is the Second Amendment, which we have the right to own a gun and to bear arms. This is something that would be very hard to change, even though there are many people that believe that they're going to be able to change this. I just don't think it will happen, and I think it'll cause a huge uproar if it does. So there are a few main things that we can take away from this analysis on Burnett and his thoughts on suing gun manufacturers. The first is that if we take guns away, there's going to be more of a problem than people already claim that there are now. Guns are just as dangerous as knives, even automobiles, if they get in the hands of the wrong person. I believe that people should continue to have the right to bear arms, but there should be something done to make sure that you're capable of owning a gun. And maybe you can take a class on it, or make sure people have to take classes on it just to make sure that they know kind of what they're doing and the consequences on if they were to do something in a wrong way. The second idea that we can take from this is that guns keep more people safe than they do kill people. Yes, they are dangerous, but when they are used correctly, they save more lives than anything. I believe that if we're so worried about the gun industry, and we need to fund more on information about the gun industry so people have the opportunity to kind of learn more about them so that they won't be so scared of them. In conclusion, I believe that the Second Amendment claims that we have the right to keep and bear arms, and it should stay that way. Guns are not the problem, it's the gun holder who is to be blamed for the problem. The gun itself cannot shoot without the holder behind it. Therefore, gun companies and manufacturers are not to be blamed for shootings. If we blame gun for shooting, then we should be blaming knives for stabbing, cars for crashing into things, and household products for causing deaths each year. If you ask me, it sounds a little bit ridiculous, and I would hope that someday we'll be able to figure out a way for people to believe that guns are not the problem, and the withholders of the guns are the problem.